Hey everybody, it's a loyal gamer, and if you remember the last video, I promised to make another video concerning how to become well known, or not really popular, but at least how to get like an active fan base here on YouTube, namely in the Let's Play community. I've noticed that a lot of newer people are sort of angry at the more established LPers because a lot of people believe that the established LPers don't really seem to vouch for the greenhorns, so to speak, of the community, and that it's far from the truth. Okay, through the majority of my career here on YouTube, I know that at least I have vouched for many people to be LPers many times. Batman 9502 can sort of agree with this because I'm not saying that I was like the sole like person that kind of got him like on the map a little bit, but I kind of known him ever since from the beginning, like right from the start when I did that community video with NCS and Dreamer. So yeah, that was when Batman first made his foray, and back then he was relatively starting up, and he became popular instantly. So it definitely is possible for newer LPers to if they use their resources correctly to become relatively popular. It's not impossible. It's really just a matter of what are you doing with your time here on YouTube, and how are you using it effectively, and how are you taking advantage of the situation that you are given. Now, there are three things I want to go over that any LPer really needs to possess in order to get like a hope of getting noticed here on YouTube, especially since I have to admit that now that the conditions have changed, with so many things, you got all this copyright nonsense, so you can't do certain games anymore. Like a Metal Gear, that's just shot to hell because, those are getting copyright infringements all over the place, as well as other games like Heavy Rain and whatnot. So for the most part, it's a lot harder to upload content on here than it was 3 years ago. I will definitely say that much. Like 3 years ago, you could upload almost whatever you want. There was no self-policing system here on YouTube, and nobody really cared about, like people were like uploading like movie clips and shit. I know H.C. Bailey used to do that. I don't know if he still does or not, but he always used to like throw like little movie references in there, and that like that allowed for more creativity in a way because it kind of like, hey, here's an LP featuring a video game, but here's also like a quick movie clip so you can get my reference. So that was that was good for that time, but now it just got so cluttered with all of this nonsense going on with YouTube, especially with advertising on the front page, and just the layout of YouTube is just a lot harder to get views as it was compared to what YouTube was 3 years ago. Even before Google purchased YouTube, it was just like a different place, altogether almost. But for the most part, I'm not going to keep referring to the past because it's still possible to become relatively well known on YouTube if you play your cards right. So, without further ado, here's the three things that I thought up of. And I given these three things a lot of thought. These three things aren't the only things that you need, but these are the three essentials that I think every LPer should at least learn about, know about, and pursue, that that will get your feet going, or get your feet wet, or something. I don't know. I forgot what the saying was, but it'll get your train rolling, I guess. So one of the things, and oh, by the way, all three things are equally as important as each other. Like one cannot work properly without the other two working. Everything's got to be working in unison here. So, yeah. All right. One of the things I thought up of was you gotta have. I don't know. See, this incorporates so many things, but I don't know, you just gotta have confidence. Now, that actually goes a very long way, because it takes a lot to achieve confidence in your videos. How I try to approach LPs is I sort of pretend to be Steve Jobs in a way where, Steve Jobs would be like, I try to pretend that I'm Steve Jobs presenting an iPhone. This is actually a Droid, but don't tell PC, alright? This is actually, well, let's just say this is an iPhone for now, and I'm Steve Jobs, and I'm like, hey everybody, this is an iPhone. You can check your emails on here. You can swipe through pictures like this. You can do all sorts of things. You can do text messages, calling, and you have to like pretend that you're standing on a stage presenting a product to hundreds of thousands of people, all right? LPing is the same way, it's pretty much the same format as how Steve Jobs presented his products, I mean, you're basically uploading video, teaching people how to play a video game, essentially providing a walkthrough with commentary. And it's like, here's how you play this game. You press A to jump, you press B to punch, or, you do the C buttons to, do special moves, or like switch camera angles, or exploit this glitch or whatever. And you just kind of have to present your game as if you're presenting it like it's sort of like a product. Like every video has to be like your baby in a way, and you have to make sure that you like have to like polish it. If you want other people to see it and like it, then it's got to be polished. It's got to be a polished product, Uh. Now, that's not the only way how to view your Let's Plays. A lot of people just say, F it, I'll just upload it, and I'll do, whatever, and whatever I record is whatever you get. Now, in some instances, that can work out well. In other instances, it won't work out so well. So that's actually more of a risky thing to do, just kind of cut and butt and say, here you go, and that's pretty much it. But, if you take a little bit extra effort into creating videos here on YouTube, it's sort of making them special and unique, in their own way, then it'll make people not only want to see it and subscribe, but to stay subscribed and to keep viewing your videos. That's the key. It's not just getting the subscription and that's it. You want people to stay, obviously, and to keep watching your content and to keep supporting you. So, yeah, that's basically how you do that. You need confidence. And I guess another aspect to build up that confidence is to do lots of research. For me, personally, Let's Playing has been a huge, educational thing for me because, when I was starting out in college, I wanted to do music. That didn't work out, so I was in community college, and I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I didn't know what I wanted to study or anything like that, and I was just at a loss until I saw White Mage Serenity's Let's Plays, and that started to get me up on my own, as you guys already know from the last video. And then from there, I wanted to pursue video editing, and I found out that University of Buffalo has this great program called the Department of Media Study, and they do lots of things with online, development and film and video and sound and digital poetics and locative media and all sorts of crazy random stuff, and yeah, I mean, it's really, some of the stuff we're doing is pretty cutting edge, I have to say it's a great department, I've loved every minute of it, but I think what's really gained me an edge in my education is Let's Playing, and basically learning how a video ticks before I even walked into the classes. By the time I went into the department, took my first classes, I basically knew everything there was about video, and I didn't really learn anything from my classes because I was learning everything from YouTube and from people who were, constantly teaching me how to increase the quality of my product. So in a way, that's kind of like what I want you new guys to take from Let's Playing, is not so much this competition or this popularity contest, but it's more about learning, and the love of learning, video production, if you're into that sort of thing. And, it's more about taking what Let's Playing is giving to you as an experience and applying it to, something in real life. I think that's the real value of Let's Playing, is to just take what you get from the hobby and just sort of, make your life positive with aspects of it, I'm really blessed, that Let's Playing has helped me in my education, and, it's gotten me really far. I mean, my grades definitely show that. So, You know, I want that for everybody. You know, it's not just, well, it's this little petty competition thing. You know, and another thing about competition, I'll get to the second part in a minute, but the thing about competition is that, you know, it completely destroys a hobby. You know, I kind of left music for that purpose because, you know, it just kind of felt like after a while I was just competing with all of my friends, and, you know, I didn't really see the point. You know, you're trying to be a musician, you're either good or you need work, you know, and you can only work your way up to good, you know. I mean, you really just can't suck for the most part, but you can always get better, and you always have opportunities to get better as long as you're living and breathing. So I didn't really understand why I needed to compete with anybody, and but that's just the way it is in music, and you know, it's such a cutthroat thing that I just got turned off by it altogether. You know, I know that's kind of a lame excuse for you musicians out there listening, but that's just how I felt, especially with college. You know, it just kind of felt like, you know, I just want to do stuff that I enjoy. I don't want to like have to compete against anybody, or you know, I just got tired of that shit. Like, that's so high school, you know. But for the most part, you know, once you put competition on a hobby, and that could be music, let's playing, anything, you can no longer abide by the rules that you set for yourself for that hobby. You have to abide by the rules of competition, because that's the competitive mindset, you know. And once you start doing that, you know, it no longer becomes a hobby. It becomes a, well, a competition. So, you know, for those of you who are out there competitively, you know, trying to be more popular than the next guy, and, you know, trying to get the upper hand, or, you know, just some dumb stuff that I've been seeing recently, you know, trying to cut each other down, and, you know, you guys need to be friends with each other more so than enemies, and that leads to me to my second point, which is to get yourself some contacts, get yourself an online family, so to speak. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of the younger generation of LPers, if you will, are sort of complaining that the quote unquote big Let's Players aren't really giving them any sort of like shout outs or support or anything, and they feel like, you know, they're sort of like betrayed, you know. But, you know, it's kind of dumb in a way that some of you guys might feel like that, because it's sort of like, you know, going down to Wall Street, for example, and demanding that you have money. You know, it just doesn't really work like that. I mean, Wall Street might hold all of the money, but they can't just lend it to like large masses of people like that. You know, that's kind of not how economics works. But that is a totally different social paradigm from what we are talking about here. What we're talking about is Let's Playing, and how it's similar to what I thought personally what Occupy Wall Street was, is that a lot of you guys are sort of like coming to us and saying, hey, you know, we want subscribers too. We want to be popular, and, you know, there's just so many of you who want to be popular. That's the problem. We would help if there weren't like a whole, you know, like, you know, we're inundated, and the entire Let's Playing community is just inundated, and everybody, you know, wants to be popular and liked and loved, and everybody wants to see that experience. And I have to say, you know, it's definitely a good experience, but you have to handle it responsibly, or, you know, fame is a dangerous thing, you know. A lot of people, they want to be famous, and, you know, I just kind of shake my head with that, because, you know, to me, fame can be a curse, but it depends on how you treat it, you know. Because I don't know, you just have to handle it just very, very responsibly, or it could easily corrupt you, you know. Especially if money is involved, you know, partnerships, and, you know, it just, people sort of take it out of context. They think they can do or be something with it when it's actually just, you know, not what it really seems to be, you know. Like, partnerships, again, is nothing more than a perk. It doesn't really add like a superiority status or anything. It's just there, you know. And you know, it's just not, you know, it's just not a competition or a popularity contest. So what you guys need to do is get hooked up with each other, you know. I mean, Let's Players, you know, the bigger Let's Players like Chugga Conroy, Nintendo Capri Sun, they get hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of emails per day of people asking them, hey, check out my videos, you know, comment, rate, you know, give me some criticism, how am I doing, you know, you inspired me to take up Let's Playing. You know, they get hundreds of those every day. And how can you really expect them to go on hundreds of people's videos per day just to do that. They wouldn't even have time to do their own Let's Plays, let alone live a life, you know? So, and here's what I used to do, you know? In order to get, like, an online family sort of going, you have to take advantage of social media. Or social networking, my bad. Social networking. So things like Skype, you know, Facebook, well, not so much Facebook, but Skype's, you know, everybody uses it. So yeah, I mean, just get yourself a Skype address and, you know, just ask each other, you know. I mean, if you know, like, other LPers who are sort of, like, struggling on their own, and they only have, like, what, you know, like 5 to 10 subscribers or whatnot, if you get, just imagine, if you get, like, 10 LPers who are like that, who are just started out with only 10 subscribers, and if you all give each other shoutouts, you can get, what, 10 subscribers per LPer. You got 10 friends that are LPers. 10 times 10 equals 100, right? I think that's right. I hope my math is still good up in here. But if you all vouch for each other, you can build a fan base like that, and you can share. Not only will you share that fan base, but you will actually have friends, and then that opens up possibility for co-ops, more future shoutouts, more friends. Because if you get more friends, the more friends you get, the more friends you will get who know more friends who actually know the bigger people. So you can sort of slide your way up the chain like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not exactly, you know, trying to, you know, hit it big, saying, hey, you know, NCS, give me a shout out, because it's not going to work that easily. But if you work your way small, like contact somebody who has like 500 subscribers. If you only have like 10 or 20, like here's what I do. I go in the YouTube search engine, and if I have a future Let's Play that I have in mind of a certain game that I like, I type in that game in the YouTube search bar, and what I do, I see if anybody else is LPing that game currently, or, you know, maybe they finished the LP, whatever. So I contact them, and I say, hey, you know, my name is a loyal gamer. You know, you can check out my stuff if you want, but I really like the game that you're doing. I really love your Let's Play on it, and I think we should, you know, maybe get together on Skype or something, and maybe we can, like, do some co-commentary, or, you know, perhaps just be friends, you know, here and there. We can do stuff, and you don't know how many friends I've gained just by doing that. Just by typing in, you know, a game that I want to LP in the future, getting people who've already LP'd it to help you out and to become your friend, and, you know, then you're making more connections like that, and then their fans will get to know you, and then their fans will subscribe to you, and vice versa. Your fans will get to know them, and they get subscribers too. So that is a totally fair way of doing it without having the need for spam. Okay, spamming is bad. And another thing, in my opinion, that's bad is putting your own Let's Play on a Let's Play that's more popular than yours, especially if it's completely unrelated to the LP that you're trying to post to. Then it's like, okay, I'm watching Legend of Zelda whatever, and all of a sudden this guy, you know, who only has like 50 views, posted like some Mario game underneath. I mean, why would I want to see a Mario game, you know, while I'm watching a Legend of Zelda? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. So, you know, don't be that guy or girl, you know, just to be like, oh, you know, this video has so many views, I'm just going to go ahead and post a video response to it. And unless if the LPer is okay with that, you know, the LPer who's getting the big hits, if they're fine with that, then I guess that's fair game. But if you just kind of do it without their permission, you know, at least ask them first, because it's their video, and you should at least ask them, yo, can I post my LP, you know, as a video, some of my LP videos as video responses to your LP, so, you know, because obviously that's going to rake in views, but it has to be okay with the uploaders of the videos that you're trying to post to. You guys get what I'm saying? So, I mean, just randomly putting them as video responses is, in my opinion, that's disrespectful. And, you know, some people try to do that on mine, and, you know, I ain't having it, especially if they're completely unrelated. I mean, come on. I mean, you know, that's just not... But whatever. So, we went over confidence and getting contacts. The third most important thing that I think the newer guys, you guys in particular, if you're watching this video, should have is, let's see. Oh, come on. I just had it in my head. Perseverance. Yes, perseverance. And I have a tea because my mouth is dry. Ah, Arizona iced tea. So anyway, you gotta have perseverance, alright? Don't be so discouraged early on. You know, you've been LPing for only a few months, and you know, you only got like 20 subscribers, and you're just like, you know what, I'm fed up with this. Maybe I am just a horrible LPer, or you know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. Nobody's here helping me with anything, you know, and I'm not getting out of this hobby, and then you decide to quit. It's not that LPing didn't work out for you, okay? I mean, you try LPing. LPing is just a thing by itself. It's not designed to work for anybody. You have to work for it, okay? And if you're not getting these results, then you have to look at yourself and ask, you know, what am I doing, you know, to, you know, sort of get, you know, in the know and get to know people, you know, who have lively fan bases who can sort of help me out. You know, not the uber popular people who get hundreds of PMs per day and probably won't be able to get back to you, but the people who, you know, who have like 1,000, 2,000 subscribers, you know, who probably are very open to having as many friends as they possibly can get for the same reasons. They're trying to work their way up the ladder. And again, you can use my methods that I explained to you guys. But for the most part, you know, if you keep trying, you know, and if you keep getting better, you know, just a little bit by little bit, you know, you just gotta, you know, work on video quality, work on audio quality, you know, work on the content. Maybe, you know, the game, I don't know, like maybe you can just, you know, just keep improving on your work, and you can do that again by researching, you know, what are the best emulators for this game, you know, what kinds of capture devices that are out there that can record from consoles with, you know, how do I record in HD. Not that HD is a mandatory requirement in order to make a good Let's Play, because what makes a good Let's Play is the commentary, alright? That's just my opinion. Some people might have it differently, but in my opinion, you gotta have good commentary in order to keep that audience interested. Otherwise, they might as well just watch like a, you know, like a regular audio-visual walkthrough of the game with no commentary. I mean, you gotta make it worthwhile. You gotta make every experience unique. And for the most part, you know, if you keep trying, if you keep pushing, you know, at first you might suck, okay? But, you know, after watching Clay's video, watching everybody's, you know, first time, you know what? We all sucked when we started out. You know, so we're no exception. I'm definitely not an exception. We all suck when we first start out, but you have to keep working for it. You have to keep researching, how can I do stuff better, and eventually getting better will become natural, and then you'll just improve that way, and then before you know it, you're going to be a master of the arts, you know. I mean, especially with emulators, like emulators open up so many good possibilities back when I first started out. You know, emulators weren't quite as good back then as they are now, and you can achieve really good quality if you configure an emulator just right. And you know, emulators are free and open source software, so you know, that's definitely a viable route that a lot of you guys can take if you want to do games to boost their quality, so to speak. You know, just as long as you have a good program like Camtasia or Fraps to go along with it, then you know, an emulator is a great choice to have for, you know, especially for your first LP, because it's the easiest to record. You know, with capture devices are a bit more complicated, I have to admit. So anyway, keep on pushing, man. Need I even mention Nintendo Capri Sun and how he was stuck at 500 subscribers for 1 year straight? I was there for that. When I first started out, you know, he was there at 500 subscribers for quite some time, and you know, he kept trying. I mean, at first, you know, his LPs weren't really all that great. You know, I mean, he was doing like a camcorder LP of Final Fantasy VI, you know. But the thing is, he kept trying and he kept pushing, and his video quality increased, his audio quality increased, his commentary, you know, became infectious in my opinion. I mean, everybody's, throwing around toilet jokes like nobody's business. But, his commentary is really what made him and his LPs golden. And before you know it, as soon as he did the right game, or the right, I don't know, it was like the right game in the right moment that he just exploded in popularity. Like, I've never seen, he's the only person that really just kind of poofed up like that, along with Chugga Conroy. But I think with Chugga Conroy, he actually had something that I want to touch upon, which is, well, not in that way, but he has something that I call a little forum support. And a lot of LPers go by this method too. This is actually the easiest way to get to meet other LPers. Now, the thing about forums, and again, this really doesn't tie in with perseverance, but it ties in with networking. The thing about forums is that if you go to, like, maybe not really a Let's Playing forum, because I don't know, they're kind of, all of them are sort of like controversial in their own way these days, Not mentioning any names or links or anything, but I don't know. I personally don't know a good Let's Playing forum to redirect all of you guys to anymore. But I noticed that a lot of these networks that are partnering people like crazy are sort of providing a replacement for that, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because the Let's Playing forums that have existed, were always shrouded in some type of, they're always on like one side of the fence when it comes to LPing, and then like one side of the camp has one philosophy, and then you have another side of the camp which has another philosophy, and and the philosophies get all mixed up, and you don't really know what to do in order to become a good LPer in somebody else's eyes. And that's sort of the drawback with forums. But with Chugga, I noticed that he had he knows people in Bulbapedia. He knows people. I think, I don't know. I don't want to venture too deep into that because I don't really know Chugga's progression as well as NCS's progression. But I do know for a fact that he has contacts. All right, and that's something that you guys need. Is that you need to think outside of the box and maybe go outside YouTube to get your contacts. There are forums out there. Again, I'm just going to let you guys explore what types of forums you can join, but you can meet other LPers out there who will more than likely help you and take you under their wing and help you get more attention. And the more that you do that, the more, well, everybody will be happier, I guess. And plus, you'll be part of a huge family. Like, you'll be like inducted in a nice family of Let's Players who are relatively supportive of you. I can't guarantee that for all forums, though. Some forums have some odd-ass philosophies, like, you can't do this in an LP, or we'll reject you, and you gotta get, like, the LPer status, or some bullshit, I mean, but I guess, I don't know if that mentality is just, like, an old one that's long gone, or, a lot of people have rejected that philosophy, and, but that's getting into complicated shit, and jargon, and stuff that, whatever. But for the most part, forums can, and they don't have to be LPing forums again, but forums can provide that opportunity to get your channel more well known and to connect with other people who share similar interests with you. I think that's every point that I wanted to touch upon. So if you listen to this video, and I think that this video will be very helpful to a lot of you newcomers to the community. Take it from old ALG. These are some of my secrets that, I haven't really told anybody. Now I'm telling them right now, and, I might be opening a can of worms here. Maybe not. But, yeah, that's basically how I do it, For the most part, I keep saying that over and over again, for the most part. I got a skin for my 3DS. I know you guys probably don't even care, right? Check this out. Bam, son, my logo on the 3DS. Oh yeah. They messed up with the inside prints though. Like, the inside prints didn't like print out like at all. And then I have, whatever. We can throw that aside. I'm gonna play some more 3DS after this video is over, for sure. This is a Loyal Gamer signing off for this video, and I hope that everything that I said will help you in your careers as budding Let's Players. Budding, not budding, you know. Yeah. And remember, love each other. Don't hate each other. It's not a popularity contest. It's for fun, and for fun alone, alright? That's all that is, just a hobby. Later, people.